The 500 million acre cover-up, a gift with a dark secret, the Homestead Act of 1862, a law that promised to give ordinary Americans a chance at land, a fresh start, a place to build a life. For generations, we've been taught that this was one of the greatest gifts the government gave its citizens. But what if the truth is far darker? What if, instead of the humble farmer benefiting from the land, a vast conspiracy unfolded that shifted millions of acres into the hands of corporations and speculators? According to government records, 84% of the land meant for homesteaders never reached them. In this video, we'll uncover the real story behind the 500 million acres of land that were supposedly up for grabs. This is a tale not of opportunity, but of deceit, manipulation, and a massive cover-up. The truth about the Homestead Act is buried beneath a mountain of historical narratives we've been taught to accept as fact. Official records show that out of the 500 million acres promised to the people, only 80 million went to the farmers and families it was meant for. So where did the other 420 million acres go? A deep dive into the history of the Homestead Act reveals a pattern of fraud and exploitation, one that was systematically orchestrated by powerful interests. From the start, the law was riddled with loopholes designed to favor speculators. The promise of land to the common man was a facade, masking a much larger and far more sinister plan. The law required homesteaders to build a simple dwelling on their claim. But what the law didn't specify was whether it should be measured in feet or inches. This ambiguity allowed speculators to build tiny 12-inch by 14-inch shacks and file claims on hundreds of acres of land. The General Land Office, tasked with preventing fraud, was drastically underfunded. They couldn't hire enough investigators to oversee the hundreds of thousands of claims filed across the West. Even worse, those investigators were often corrupt, bribed by the very people who sought to exploit the system. On top of this, the Homestead Act allowed people to commute their claim. After just 6 months of minimal work, a homesteader could pay $1.25 per acre and gain full ownership of the land. This loophole became a tool for speculators, who would quickly file claims, pay the small fee, and then flip the land for enormous profits. The very system meant to provide land to hardworking farmers was instead hijacked by opportunists, creating a land rush for resale rather than settlement. As this corruption unfolded, a disturbing trend began to emerge. Instead of creating a nation of independent farmers, the Homestead Act became the basis for a land grab of epic proportions, driven by corporations and the rich. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, it's just the beginning. 6 weeks after signing the Homestead Act, President Abraham Lincoln signed 2 more significant laws, the Pacific Railroad Act and the Morrill Land Grant Act. Together, these 3 laws redistributed more land than many wars ever could. The railroads alone were granted over 175 million acres of public land, an area larger than the state of Texas. This wasn't a loan, it was a gift. Railroads like the Northern Pacific and Union Pacific received millions of acres, and then they turned around and sold this land to the very settlers who were supposed to receive it for free. The government gave them the land, and the railroads sold it for a profit, forever altering the trajectory of American land ownership. This wasn't an isolated incident. The Morrill Act, which was supposed to help establish colleges, also resulted in the theft of millions of acres of land from Native American tribes. More than 10 million acres were taken from indigenous peoples, and universities like Cornell received nearly 1 million acres, much of it stolen from 230 different tribal nations across 15 states. Even today, the land still belongs to those institutions, generating millions of dollars in income, but not a single penny was paid to the people who were dispossessed of it. The truth is, the land never truly went to the people. It was taken, manipulated, and sold by those in power, corporations, railroads, and universities, all benefiting from what was supposed to be a gift to the common man. And then there's the issue of the people already on the land, the Native American tribes who were displaced by these policies. Their lands were systematically taken under the guise of generosity and progress, but in reality, this was part of a calculated plan to expand corporate and institutional power. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. The system that allowed this land theft to happen wasn't just about bureaucracy or corporate greed. It was about the complete removal of people from the land. In the 1880s, the Dawes Act was implemented, which aimed to break up Native American reservations and divide the land into individual allotments. The plan was sold as a way to civilize Native Americans, but it had a much more sinister goal: to open up land to white settlers. The Dawes Act led to the loss of over 90 million acres of tribal land, and within decades, the indigenous populations were left landless and impoverished. The machinery built to empty this land didn't stop at the Homestead Act or the Dawes Act. It expanded into an entire system designed to erase the people who had lived there for centuries. Boarding schools were created, specifically designed to strip Native American children of their identity and culture. These schools were built to break the bond between the people and their land, ensuring that future generations would be disconnected from their heritage and unable to resist the land grabs that followed. The Homestead Act wasn't just a mistake. It was part of a much larger, systematic effort to reshape America, not for the benefit of its people, but for the benefit of its corporations. The question isn't whether this happened. The government's own records confirm it. The question is why we were taught to believe that the Homestead Act was a gift, when the numbers say it was something else entirely. And what else from that era were we taught to remember wrong?